Recording in progress.
Welcome in to the latest episode of the almost said Need for Seeds. We're not college basketball season anymore. This is the Betting the Pitch podcast. We go through all the soccer leagues across the top five in Europe, including the Champions League this midweek. Is the semifinal first legs, and we're going to go through everything on the list, two advanced numbers, and what will be a very brief episode because we only have two matches to discuss, though I will certainly get into what I expect from the second legs and such. We're going to go through what we got in Champions League this week, plus come out with an ultimate best bet end of show. 41 and 18, 69% so far this season. I picked my favorite bet from the 2 days that I'm going to cover and smash together a 1-minute video on @thereal_G_Warner on YouTube and on Instagram. Plus, if you'd like to subscribe to the podcast channel, please do so, as we have a new F1 podcast coming out every week. There is a race this season. That is Betting the Pitch on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And if you leave a 5-star review, it's huge for the search rankings, and I would really appreciate it. So let's start on Tuesday. We'll go into the Champions League, and we're going to cover everything you possibly can, at least from a betting perspective. Maybe even an idea even of who we like. Not that I'm wearing a shirt that has one of the teams in it. Unfortunately, I try to wear any sort of gear from a team that I've seen live that is playing, and I don't own anything from either of the other three remaining teams. So get ready for the same shirt for both the Champions League podcast and maybe the rest of them rest of the season. Unless I probably could do an international jersey if we have some Frenchman that survives into the next round. We'll start on Tuesday with Arsenal quarter goal favorites right now at home to PSG. Total is 2.5. Juice is split both ways. There's a lot of juice right now in Arsenal at home. Probably see this climb to a half of a goal favorite. Might be exactly there, and depending where you're looking around. Did a Major League Baseball podcast tonight on pregame.com, at pregame now on Twitter if you want that. But as Munaf, my co-host in baseball, always says, make sure you shop around for the best price. And certainly if you're looking to back Arsenal here, you might want to just lay the half instead of the quarter. Though, if you listen to this podcast ever or have ever touched it before, you will know that this is an under and underdogs podcast. And much as one of my longtime Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/real_G_Warner, Joe Dollar wants me to change, but I don't think it's going to happen. I wish it would, but it's much easier in life rooting for overs because you're literally never out of it. But I think this is going to be a tough matchup. I'm a little surprised to see PSG this small of an underdog. Certainly even at a half of a goal would be, to me, a pretty comfortable price for Arsenal at home. So I'm trying to think of why that is the case. Also should mention, to advanced number, currently PSG a -130 favorite. I think a lot because they have the second leg at home. But still a bit of a surprise to see a Farmers League representative, what England used to slight the French league, calling it the Farmers League back when they had 20 teams, but now they're much stronger with only 18. But Arsenal plus 106 to advance. I imagine, and as anyone who's listened to the Champions League or Europa League podcast on the Betting the Pitch podcast channel this entire season, you know, and I say it, I shout it from the mountaintops, that there are a lot of there's a lot of UK money that comes in and backs the English Premier League representatives, Scottish Premier League as well, but none of those are here in the Champions League semifinals. But that's all to say, and I guess also got eliminated from Europa League too. But I think that's probably where we see this money go. It's certainly pointing that direction on the quarter goal home favorite with all the juice right now. Probably closes a half of a goal. Wouldn't be shocked by that. Tuesday afternoon, approximately. Let's see. It's about to be midnight here local time. So it starts at 2 p.m. So about 14 hours away. So we got a little while. From a PSG perspective, so I don't think they're surprised to be here. Both of these teams, really, I guess, to break it all down, this is all that's left to be decided. PSG have already won Liga in France. They are a Champions League or bust squad organization club as it is. So I don't think that's a big deal here. They've always been fighting this competition. They don't need to fight on two fronts. Arsenal are too far behind in the Premier League, so they have nothing to worry about there. So this is everyone going for this as much as they can, and I think that is valuable in this matchup. In terms of the total, 2.5, also lower than I made it. I probably was adjusting my numbers higher than I should have, but I was expecting more here. So I am an under player, and I'm interested in under just because I think the stage semifinal first leg of the Champions League, I think we see lower scoring first legs a lot of times because the first legs can really, it's hard to win and advance in a first leg, but it's very easy to lose if you take a big loss. So whoever falls behind, and I think what makes betting PSG a little bit complicated here, PSG, they want the ball, they want to possess it, they want to control the game. Arsenal want the same thing. So the fight really, to me, is not going to be only in one side of the pitch based on whoever the home team is. And I think that's a good thing for under, because while it does set up to probably have more counterattacks and out of balance type of sides, that you have a lot of pace from both these sides running in a direction that can more easily find a goal. With that said, that's still a hard thing to execute. Whereas if one team is just consistently pinned in their 18-yard box and is defending the whole time, that's a much harder scenario. It's where you find a lot more XG built. It's hard to say when those XG numbers will turn into actual goals, but sometimes they overshoot them. A lot of times they undershoot them. So we'll see what happens. But I do think if there's a team that's going to dominate this game, it will probably be Arsenal, because they're at home. They played very well there. And I think PSG is clever enough to realize that if they can escape with a good result in this first leg, then they are in great position to advance, hence the favorite title of tag. The way Arsenal advances here is they're going to try to dominate the game, try to push PSG into its own half and even further back, as they've done throughout Champions League and through pretty much the entire Premier League season as well. And I think what we saw from the last stage with Real Madrid is Arsenal scoring 2 goals off of set pieces at home in the first leg, and then a third goal to really just almost kill off the tie in leg 1. I don't know that we can rely on those low XG numbers to be turned into goals from Declan Rice, for example. So I think just from a general perspective, it's going to be hard for Arsenal to find the net. I think PSG have a really good chance at scoring a goal here away from home, which would certainly jeopardize the total as 2.5. I mean, if PSG get 1 and we see a goal or see a 1-1 draw, that certainly will pay out the under. But I gotta also feel like there's probably some over money coming in. Champions League is very popular to bet. It's a standalone type of situation on Tuesday afternoons in the United States. There's no other sports to really think about besides maybe tennis that's going on. But I think at this point, Arsenal are a little bit underpriced. So I'll be waiting. If you're a PSG backer or you have interest, I would not suggest betting it now. Though certainly taking plus odds is never a bad strategy in anytime a casino is trying to pay you to take a bet. I certainly makes me interested, gets my juices flowing. But I think if you want to back PSG, you probably get a half of a goal. It might be a little bit more expensive than you initially want. But I think there's a good chance we see some Arsenal money coming in, because the UK markets tend to dominate the European or continental cups. My interest here, surprise, surprise, PSG and under. I do think that there's probably a lot of thinking I need to do about PSG and wanting to play the side. As for the most part this year, and especially recently, I've been playing more when I like an underdog away from home, but they're less than a goal underdog. Is generally I'll go with an under the total, because most of the time that correlates to a good performance. The underdog is usually a defensive one. PSG want the ball, Arsenal want the ball. They're going to fight in the middle of the pitch as opposed to in only one end exclusively for the whole match. I do think if there's any team that's going to dominate possession in this game, it would be Arsenal, because they're at home, but I think also because of how they set up. I don't think the Arsenal defense is by any means impregnable. I think PSG can certainly pierce it with a lot of pace and with how hot Ousmane Dembele has been all season. But I do think that there's probably a big fight that's going to happen in the middle of the pitch as opposed to only in one end. So I think that does make the underdog a little bit more viable, and also makes the under very interesting as well. In terms of the 2 advanced number, just to close that off before we get to Wednesday, Arsenal plus 106 is there's a lot of value there. If they win the first leg, that puts them probably as a favorite heading to Paris for the second leg. Certainly winning by multiple goals, then you've got a great opportunity to sell off and buy back PSG as a plus money underdog. And ultimately, you just root for whoever the bigger stake is, or however you want to balance your risk. I don't know that that's generally my strategy for the most part. If I'm playing a 2 advanced team, I want to hold on to it, and I want to get a good result first leg. And unless some huge injury changes everything, I'm usually sticking with it, because in my opinion, hedging is for gardeners. Hasn't worked all the time for me in my life, but certainly I'll stick to that principle forever, or as long as I possibly can, or as long until someone changes my mind. I do think the PSG side, though, is a favorite away from home. A lot of bad things can happen this first leg. Just ask Real Madrid that. So I'll probably stay away from that 2 advanced number. With that said, my favorite bet from Tuesday, which will be pushed into the ultimate best bet end of show, much briefer show on this episode than most others. I'll go with that PSG Arsenal under 2.5 as my best bet on Tuesday. Let's check to see if we got anybody live. Want to make sure I don't miss any comments. Of course, if you are live in here, please say something, and I will try to hit the button that shows it on the screen. Thanks to you, of course, that are all subscribed. New subscribers to the YouTube audience, I think I also need to shout out as well. Let's see. We got Rodney Gawaseb. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Also, Easy Bets 27. Thanks for the love. Recent comments. And Joseph Dollar, I guess this was the last Europa League. Beard shaming and overs. Great show. Yeah, of course. Don't think that's whatever he gets or ever what he wants. But anyway, thanks to the new subscribers. Go check me out at @the_real_G Warner on YouTube and, of course, on Instagram as well if you want these 1-minute videos coming end of show. And thanks to you, those of you that are live here with me on a late night Tuesday into, well, I guess Monday night into Tuesday, depending where you're at in the United States. We'll move to Wednesday. We'll start with Barcelona, a 3-quarter goal favorite with all the juice as I wear my Inter Milan polo. Bought not at the stadium at San Siro, but I think it was their city store in Milan a couple Octobers ago. Was there for my birthday and didn't do a soccer trip so far this year. Really disappointed in that and want to make that change for sure. Inter 3-quarter goal underdog with all the juice in Barca. Total is 3, juice more to the under. Also, we have 2 advanced numbers here, which are a lot juicier than the first matchup that we discussed on Tuesday with Arsenal and PSG. But Barcelona, so they're 3-quarter goal favorites. Looks like that's all the way juiced. Could be climbing to a 1. Probably see some +1s out there for Inter. Plus the total at 3. Just a little bit more to under, but I would expect favorite money and over money to hit really until kickoff on Wednesday afternoon here in the United States. From a Barcelona perspective, they are still fighting for La Liga. Inter Milan are fighting for Serie A. But Barca come in off of a Copa del Rey final with Real Madrid. So they had to play an extra match midweek. I guess so did Inter Milan in the Coppa Italia. So no difference there. But Inter did play their match this weekend as opposed to in the league, and it wasn't El Clasico, which I think puts Inter in a better rest position. Not that they would be rested, but they have the ability to not go all out for 90 minutes, as Barcelona have no opportunity to ever lose a Clasico because they're sitting players or resting players, especially with a trophy on the line, because they want to deny Real Madrid, who worries about trophies more than everything. Club World Cups is probably their second favorite trophy besides the next one they can get. But jokingly, but really, I think they care more about trophies than any other club. And I think their big Catalonian rival certainly wants to deprive them of that. So I think Inter are in a much better place. Plus, they're a big underdog, and we could get a full goal of insurance, which I feel like the Inter defense has been so good in Champions League this season, and really the style that they play. They are, I think, going to set up to nullify Barcelona, and that makes the under 3 look even more interesting to me as well. Barca have great offense, can score from anywhere, from any position, it seems. Their defense has trouble, which is a concern for any over under 3, but pretty much their defense doesn't matter because the style Hansi Flick plays at Barcelona currently, played at Bayern Munich before, and also for the German national team before he was amazingly sacked before his contract term was finished. First time, I think, in German football history. But what I'm saying about the defense not mattering is because the way the defense is built is to play the highest line possible and make it so the defense doesn't matter because the other team will run offside. Now, Inter Milan are not built in the most dangerous way to impact, because what I want to see really, and it's really hard, and that's why Hansi Flick has had so much success both in Germany, in the Bundesliga, and also here in La Liga in his first season in Spain, is that there aren't really easy ways to beat the high line. The way you can really do it, long balls, which are hard to do on a quick turnover, but really it's to use incredible pace that will stay onside, but then you still have to run about 50 yards, meters, or lots of meters. 2.54, I want to say, per foot, but whatever that is. Lots of yards you got to run, and you got to outpace a Barcelona defense, which is not young. I mean, Martinez not young, Araujo off of a bunch of injuries not young either. The wingbacks are, but they're usually pushed up the pitch trying to create offensively. So there are a lot of opportunities. What I think Inter, especially if they can start their best two up front, that'd be Lautaro and Marcus Thuram. Thuram definitely the speed merchant of those two. But both of them have shown they can create in like what in a basketball sense we call the half court. They can create in possession with the defense set behind them. I don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Inter, which does make their 3/4 goal underdog a little bit alarming or scarier to me than a full +1, which I'll be waiting for until kickoff on Wednesday. And I think we'll get it. Barca, one of the most popular teams in the world. I think more popular than Manchester United, especially with how well they've been performing this season. I think we see Barcelona money hit. And at the worst case scenario, I think you can find a pretty juiced +1 on Inter to grab that valuable insurance goal. But from Barca's perspective, so they're going to be pushing everyone up the field and leaving a few defenders back to try to defend. And I think Inter are going to play along because they know that they can keep teams out. They've done very well. Very surprised to see a couple late goals to send their first leg match against Bayern München, even on the road in Munich, to send that over. Could have been 1-0 final for Inter, could have been 1-1 as well. And then both side and total would have hit in both those scenarios. But unfortunately, side ended up covering with a late Inter goal off of a Bayern mistake. I think that shows that Inter have the ability to strike when the iron is hot. And I think that's a really great thing. But I just think Barca, the way they get what they want to do here is to score a bunch of goals, and Inter will have to pick up the pieces. And certainly the first Barcelona goal will be problematic for Inter. It just depends if Inter have already scored or if it's really, really late in the match or something like that. If it's early, then how does Inter change? So in the first leg, I think most of the time you're just not trying to lose it, especially when the second leg is in your home stadium. So I think Inter are going to play a defensive brand. We saw it against Bayern. We've seen it really throughout Champions League where they barely were conceded goals in the league phase of 8 matches. Different story here against a big favorite in Barca on the road, but also Barca Stadium's not Camp Nou. It's a different space while Camp Nou is being refurbished. And I think that also builds more respect or ability or just anything on the Inter side, confidence to know that they're not really going to be going up against the most difficult of Barca crowds. It certainly will be loud. Barca will be said a ton. But I'm not sure that's enough to keep me away from Inter, who I still think are one of the best defenses out there. And they continue to be underdogs, especially on the 2 advanced line, especially with the second leg at home. So I did play Inter Milan 2 advance against Bayern München and won in the quarterfinals. And I don't really see a reason to avoid that here either. I think Inter at +160 to move through currently number at BetOnline is very interesting to me. Barcelona come back at 1-2 odds, 2-1 on, or -200. So 200 US win 100 versus 100 winning 160 on Inter. Huge handle, but I can't really change that for you, unfortunately. If you're looking for some sportsbook recommendations, please hit me up. I've gotten a very, very cool marketplace recently that I'm not at this point trying to market, but I do have referral bonuses I can give out. Hit me up at @the_Real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. But I think Inter are having the second leg at home as an underdog is huge. If they can go to Barca and just hang tight, they don't have to win. If they can escape level on aggregate, that is such a huge advantage. And even if Inter are behind, I think they can win the match second leg at home. And so ultimately, I think the +160 will be in my card. Do I like that enough to be my best bet? I'm not sure. But I do think Inter are in a great position to really catch a Barcelona side that are just, they don't play different ways for different opponents. They simply want the ball at their foot. They want to create as many goals as possible, and they will use all their resources forward, and that will set them up for a really tough game where Inter can score anywhere they can. Best team in Serie A and Italy, have been that way for years and years and years. And I really like their chances to give Barcelona a real fight, especially in the first leg on the road when Inter know a result, just a draw, is a huge push for them to move to the Champions League final, which I think they deserve to win a few seasons ago against Manchester City. But Rodri had other ideas. So before I move on to the ultimate best bet portion of the show, see if there's any more comments in here. It doesn't look like there are, so I will go through and do it. Inter, I'll give them as a side 3/4 of a goal underdog on the road at Barca. I do like the under. I think that all correlates to the Inter side, but I think I'm more interested in Inter, and I'll certainly be waiting for +1. If I could give that number out right now, let's see, is there some places where it might be a little bit more juice? Because I'm certainly interested in that option. So let's see if I can log in here to one of my favorite new sports books. Also, if you're looking for referrals, please let me know, because I found some cool places, even a marketplace type of exchange, which I really like. Okay, let's see. Champions League. All right, so we have no. That's not what I want. No numbers. Sad. Let's see what I can find here. Champions League. You might have an idea of where I'm going with my best bet, as I'm doing a ton of research to see if I can find this stuff. But come on, computer, you can do this. Please, oh please. I got people on the line waiting to see what I'm going to do here. I do have a +1. There we go. That's what I was hoping for. Okay. So it's not currently available at BetOnline, so you will have to look elsewhere. And it's a little bit juiced at the moment, but I will pay the juice when it comes. I will say that. So just a little bit of foreshadowing. I'll take Inter +1 as my best bet in the Wednesday match. So it's time for the ultimate best bet. Let me get my recording device out so I can have it available for the Betting the Pitch podcast Twitter feed at the _G Warner on Instagram. Okay, I think what else do I need to do? Before I get to ultimate best bet, though, while I have this set up, want to shout out the podcast I recorded tonight with Munaf Manji on the pregame.com podcast network. You can find that at pregame now on Twitter or under RJ Bell's Dream Preview, wherever you get your podcasts. If you could leave me a 5-star, it's huge for the search rankings at the _G Warner on YouTube for subscriptions. The 5-star review, though, would be the Betting the Pitch podcast and Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It's huge for the search rankings, and thank you for those of you that have already done so. If you want to check out patreon.com/real_G Warner. Had a really great start to last week on the baseball diamond. Didn't finish the weekend very well, but it's been a good start to the year after a really slow start. Then it had a really good run, and it's probably going to be a lot of ebbing and flowing in baseball. But if you're looking for plays all summer, besides the soccer that will certainly come out as we have the Club World Cup in the U.S. This summer, certainly check me out at patreon.com/real_G Warner. And it's probably time now to get into it and do this thing. So let me see if I can get this up. I think I have it there. No more comments, so let's get into it. Hey, this is real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet from the Champions League semifinals, leg 1 edition. We're 41-18, 69%. Nice. Year to date on our ultimate best bets, I picked all my favorites across multiple days of the Champions League. I smashed together in this 1-minute video at the real_G Warner on YouTube and on Instagram. And if you want to digest the 40-minute or so episode there, you can do it much quicker. From Tuesday, I like PSG under 2.5 goals on the road at Arsenal. And on Wednesday, I like Inter Milan, a 1-goal underdog. A little bit expensive juice-wise, but out there and available as we speak. And I think I'd wait on that one if I were you. But for the ultimate best bet in this episode, 41-18, 69%. Nice this year to date. Let's go Inter, a 1-goal underdog. I think they go to Montjuic or up the hill in Barcelona. They sit in defense. They try to counterattack. They might get a goal. I think they get 1. And if they can keep Barcelona from getting 3, that's good enough for me. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you on the next version of whatever episode we're doing next. Probably next one coming on this feed, Betting the Pitch on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, will be the Europa League semifinals. Might even dip into the Conference League, as it at least has some teams that I've heard of before in it. And thank you, of course, for all the support. I look forward to talk to you all again very, very soon. So still working on getting A. Brooks Bets, getting his agent to sit down with my agent to discuss about getting him back on the baseball show on Tuesdays. You want to hit him up at A. Brooks Bets on Twitter, that'd be huge. But trying to lasso in that horse that's gone astray. But thanks for the support and look forward to seeing you all soon. Let's win some money.
Recording stopped.